There are places in Colombia where the land remembers pain, where rivers carry grief, where roads whisper warnings, and where houses breathe with the voices of the dead. These are not stories meant to comfort you. They are stories meant to stay with you, long after the screen goes dark. Tonight, you will hear 3 Colombian horror legends, tales passed through generations, and feared by those who live closest to them. Turn off the lights, listen carefully, and whatever you do, don't look away. There are fishermen along the Magdalena River who refuse to cast their nets after sunset, not because of storms, not because of crocodiles, not because of the dark, but because of the woman who walks the riverbank, crying for children she drowned long ago. They say if you hear her crying nearby, she's far away. But if her sobbing sounds distant, she's standing right behind you. Mateo had lived beside the Magdalena River his entire life. He grew up with the rhythm of the water, the gentle current during the day, and the haunting silence that settled in after nightfall. The elders in his village warned him from childhood, never walk the river alone after dark. They told stories of a woman in white, a grieving mother, a cursed soul who wandered the shore searching for her lost children. But Mateo never believed them. Ghost stories were for children, excuses to scare young fishermen into behaving. Until the night he stayed out too late. The moon hung low, casting silver streaks across the rippling water. Mist clung to the surface of the river like breath from something unseen. Mateo hauled in his final net, exhausted and eager to return home. That's when he heard it. Soft crying. A woman's voice. Fragile, broken, drenched in sorrow. Mis hijos. My children. The sound echoed down the riverbank. Mateo paused. A chill crawled up his spine. At first, he assumed it was a woman in distress. Perhaps someone mourning. Perhaps someone lost. The crying sounded distant, faint, far away. So he walked toward it. Each step brought him closer. Yet the crying never seemed to come from a visible source. The mist thickened, and the river grew quieter. Then he saw her. A pale figure standing at the water's edge. Her hair hung long and wet, clinging to her shoulders. Her white dress was soaked, heavy, dragging at her ankles. Her posture was slumped, as if grief itself weighed her down. "Señora?" Mateo called softly. She turned slowly. Her face was deathly pale, eyes hollow, skin swollen as if waterlogged, and from her mouth, water poured endlessly, as though she was still drowning. "Have you seen my children?" she whispered. Her voice trembled between grief and rage. Mateo tried to speak, tried to respond, but his throat tightened. I haven't," he stammered. The woman stepped closer. The air grew colder. "Help me find them," she said. Her hand reached out. When her fingers wrapped around his wrist, they felt like ice. A sudden wave surged forward. Cold water rushed around Mateo's legs. The current tugged at him, pulled him toward the river. "Wait!" he shouted. But the woman's grip tightened. "Come with me," she murmured. "They're waiting." The water climbed higher, dragging, pulling, claiming. Mateo screamed as he was yanked beneath the surface. The river swallowed his voice. The next morning, his boat was found drifting alone, rocking gently, empty. And sometimes, when the mist settles over the Magdalena, people claim they hear two voices crying, instead of one. There's a stretch of highway outside Bogota where taxi drivers refuse to drive after midnight. Locals call it El Camino del Diablo, the Devil's Road. Some say a man appears there, asking for a ride. Others say he never asks, he simply gets in. And once he does, you don't choose where the road leads. Javier had driven a taxi through Bogota for nearly a decade. He knew every street, every shortcut, every dangerous neighborhood. He prided himself on never turning down a fare. More passengers meant more money, and more money meant survival. One night, just before midnight, Javier was driving near the edge of the city. The streets grew quieter, streetlights flickered, traffic thinned. Then he saw a man standing alone by the roadside, wearing a black suit, black hat, and his face hidden beneath the brim. "Need a ride?" Javier called. The man opened the back door without speaking. He slid into the seat silently, and the door shut with a heavy, final click. As they drove, Javier tried to make conversation. "Where to?" Silence. The temperature inside the car began to drop. The windows fogged, despite the warm night outside. Javier glanced in the rearview mirror. The back seat looked empty. No reflection. His stomach twisted. He looked again, and still nothing. "Sir?" Javier said. The man leaned forward sharply. His voice was smooth, calm. "You drive people to their destinations," the man said. "Tonight, you'll drive someone to theirs." The headlights flickered. The road ahead warped, stretching longer than it should. Streetlights disappeared one by one. The city faded behind them. The darkness deepened. Then Javier saw it. A gate burning in the distance. Flames curled around iron bars. Behind them, shadowy figures wriggled. Hands pressed against unseen walls, mouths screaming silently. The smell of smoke filled the car. "Stop!" Javier begged. "Please, I don't want to go there." The man chuckled softly. "You picked me up," he replied. "Now, finish the ride." The engine roared. The road narrowed. The flames grew closer. Javier squeezed the steering wheel, praying, crying, pleading. But the gate loomed nearer. The next morning, his taxi was found abandoned on the Devil's Road. Engine still warm, driver's door open. But Javier was never found. And on some nights, drivers claim they see a taxi driving alone, with a silent passenger in the back seat. In the old colonial streets of Cartagena, there's a house no one will buy. Not because it's falling apart, but because at night, the house whispers. And once it learns your name, it never forgets it. Maria found the house by accident. A large colonial home with tall ceilings, faded paint, cracked mirrors, and peeling portraits of strangers. It was cheap. Too cheap. Neighbors warned her not to move in. "That house listens," one whispered. "That house remembers." Maria laughed it off. She needed a place to live, and she didn't believe in ghosts. The first night, she heard murmuring inside the walls. Soft and indistinct. She just blamed it on the wind. On the second night, the whisper formed words. Maria. Her breath caught. The sound crawled through the hallway like breath against skin. Maria, come closer. She searched the rooms and found nothing. Only dust. Only silence. Only the echo of her own footsteps. On the third night, the whisper grew louder. Maria, we've been waiting. She followed the sound to a bookshelf. Behind it, she found a hidden door. Inside was a narrow room, dark and airless. The walls were lined with scratched names, hundreds of them. Some carved deep, others faint, but all desperate. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind her. The temperature dropped. The whisper surrounded her. You belong to the house now. The walls began to speak. Every name echoed at once, a chorus of voices, crying, begging, screaming. Maria screamed, but no one outside heard her. The house remains empty to this day, but if you walk past late at night, you might hear a new name being whispered, added to the walls. The Magdalena River still flows. The Devil's Road still stretches into darkness, and the house in Cartagena still waits, listening, remembering, learning names. If you ever hear crying by the river, see a man waiting on a lonely road, or hear whispers calling your name through old walls, don't answer. Because some legends aren't meant to be tested, and some places never let you leave. If you enjoyed these tales from Colombia, please subscribe to the channel. And remember, keep the lights on.